Hey, church. We've been talking a lot in recent weeks about encouraging each other and loving each other in just deeper ways. And that's how the flock grows, and that's how we all fly the same direction. Well, in Colossians 3:31, it says, "Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will grow discouraged." And we do not want them to become discouraged. That's the last thing we want, is for our children to become discouraged, but we don't want each other to become discouraged either. Ephesians 6:4 says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." So it's a great thing to remember, but remember this, we're not talking about discipline. Many times our children need discipline. And sometimes even adults need discipline. There's disciplinary actions that even happen within the church. We know they happen at the workplace. And so we have to keep that in mind as well. So one of the things that I think about, I've been thinking a lot about my dad. And a lot of you have heard a lot of the stories about my dad. He was a good Samaritan. And he did things for people that were incredible. But he was also a wonderful encourager. Well, if you guys look down front of the church, I can kind of point to it. It's just right down there. There's a saddle. It's a big, heavy saddle. After church, try to pick it up. That was my dad's saddle. And he bought me a saddle just like it, but it was a youth version, but it was still really heavy. And when he bought me that saddle, I was so excited. I put the headset, hung it over the horn, and I carried that thing way out into the pasture till I found my mare named Lady. And I saddled her up and rode her about halfway back where I met my dad walking out to congratulate me and such. And he didn't say a word of discouragement at all, but right at the end, he said, "Next time you want to go riding, you might want to bring your horse in and saddle her." Because I'd been carrying that saddle out, so sweat was rolling off of me. Yeah, he said it so nice, I didn't even think of it. But it was even a long time after that, I thought, oh, he was trying to tell me it's better to do it this way than that way. But he did it in such a wonderful way that I never felt like he was coming down on me. We all know a lot of parents that would have said, "You know what, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. What are you thinking?" And that's where you discourage a child or an adult. We do not want to discourage each other. We do not want to discourage each other. And, we're to become, last week I talked about becoming Christ-like with the power of the resurrection and growing in those areas. So how do we become like Christ in those areas? Nehemiah 9:17, towards the end of that verse, it's actually 17b, it talks about God and how we're supposed to be like Him. We're made in His image, and if we're supposed to become like Him, listen to this, "But you are a forgiving God." Are we forgiving? Have you got somebody you haven't forgiven in a while? Have you got somebody you're holding something over? Maybe they deserve it. But God says, let it go. Let it go. So, but you are a forgiving God, gracious and compassionate. Are we that way to each other? Come on, church. I've never seen such a gracious and compassionate church in my life. But we can still get better, and we can teach others that way. The ways of God. And then it says, slow to anger. Anybody got an anger control problem? I do. Slow to anger and abounding in love. That is so beautiful. And we don't want to be the one that's hurting somebody. We want to be lifting people up. We want to be encouraging people to the point to where they want to be better in their Christian life. This is exactly what we want. And I've said this before, and I've said it many times. What's love got to do with it? You're right. Everything to do with it. And so as we go out this week, be thinking about encouragement. Be thinking about grace and forgiveness and compassion, so we can take the power of the resurrection and make it complete. The Lord's going to come back, and we want to be found ready, beautifully adorned like a bride for her husband. You guys ready to go do this? Okay. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.